Every contractor who structures their Facebook ads using this three-part framework get booked solid, usually within the first 2 weeks. I'm Spencer Wright, and in the last few years, I've helped generate north of $100 million in closed jobs for home service contractors using Meta ads. After spending more than $10 million and testing hundreds of different approaches, here's what I've learned. Most contractor ads fail because they look like ads. They scream, "We're the best," instead of showing it, and they're built without a real methodology for manufacturing trust with skeptical homeowners. So in this video, I'm breaking down the exact framework that stops homeowners mid-scroll, manufactures referral level trust, and turns total strangers from cold traffic into qualified leads that book, show up, and close. If you're tired of running ads that burn money without filling your calendar, this is going to change everything. All right, part number one. It is the part that nobody wants to hear, but it's the part that matters the most. You have to stop the scroll. And here's why. When someone's on Facebook or Instagram, they're not there to hire a contractor. They're there to see what their friends are doing, watch random videos, scroll memes, you name it. So the second your ad pops into their feed, their brain does something automatically. Ad, scroll. Sees an ad, subconsciously labels it as an ad, and knee-jerk scrolls. That is the problem. Most contractor ads look like professional corporate advertisements, logo plastered everywhere, stock photos, perfectly polished graphics. And homeowners scroll right past those because their subconscious knows it's an ad trying to sell them something. So what actually works? User-generated content, UGC, ads that don't look like ads. It needs to look like it could have been posted by one of their friends or neighbors. Because think about it, when you're scrolling and you see something that looks like an ad, what do? You scroll, but when it feels native, like it belongs on the platform inside of their feed, like a candid before and after that looks real, like a quick video from a job site, like a contractor and a smiling homeowner in front of a finished project, what do? You stop for a second. You can't help it. That's human psychology. And here's a little detail most people miss. Smiling, happy people in the frame. When you're scrolling and you see happy eyes and a real authentic smile, teeth, expression, the whole thing, your brain flags it as human, not advertisement. So even if 90 out of 100 people scroll past it, you get more of those little stops. More stops turn into more clicks turn into cheaper leads. UGC catches attention, and attention is step one of conversion. If you can't stop the scroll, nothing else matters. Now, let me give you a real example. One of my clients, Justin out of San Antonio, when Justin came to me, he was working with a big national agency running those glossy corporate style ads, logo everywhere, super polished. He was paying between $300 and $400 per legitimate lead, and his calendar was not moving. We didn't change his market. We didn't change his offer. We didn't change his targeting. We changed the creative. We swapped those glossy ads for authentic on-the-job photos and simple direct videos, stuff that felt real, like it belonged on social media. And the result? His cost per lead dropped by about 90%, down to around $30 a lead. He went from getting maybe 6 leads a month to over 120 exclusive leads every single month. Same offer, same market, same budget. The only thing that changed was the creative. So here's what I tell every contractor. Pull out your phone, get a simple tripod, like $35 on Amazon, and start capturing real moments. Take photos with happy customers after you finish the project, shoot quick videos walking the job site, show the actual work being done. Because the more it feels native to the platform, like it's just someone sharing an experience, the more it stops people mid-scroll. And if you can't stop the scroll, they'll never see your message, they'll never see your offer, they'll never click, you'll never get the lead. And one more thing, this isn't one and done. You can't create one ad and run it forever. Ad fatigue is real. That's why I am constantly testing new variations, 10 to 20 new ads every single week based on what the data is telling us is working. This is iterative, not set it and forget it. Real quick, if you want someone running this system for you full time instead of trying to figure it out all by yourself, book a call below with me or someone on my team. We'll go through where you're at, what you're trying to accomplish, and see if working together makes any sense. I back everything with a guarantee, so there's literally zero risk on your end. If you're someone who wants to get their phone ringing on demand within the next 7 days, then click the link below and let's talk. And once you've got their attention, that brings us to part 2. So you've stopped the scroll. Great. Now comes the part that actually makes you money. Part 2 is where you manufacture trust. And this is where most contractors completely blow it. Because the natural instinct when you write an ad is to scream how great you are. We're the best contractor in the area, 20 years of experience, award winning. And the homeowners tune that out instantly because every contractor says the exact same thing. Here's what you have to understand. Homeowners are terrified. They've heard the horror stories. The contractor who took the deposit and disappeared. The project that was supposed to take 2 weeks and dragged on for 3 months. The roof that started leaking way sooner than it should have. The deck that started falling apart in 6 months. So when they see your ad, they're not thinking, I wonder who the best contractor is. They're thinking, how do I avoid getting screwed? That's the mindset you're dealing with. And that's why I use what I call the hope framework. Instead of telling them you're great, you show them. You give them hope that they finally found a contractor who does great work for a fair price and is actually going to show up. And you do that through the messaging. I use long form copy, and I know everyone says our attention spans are like a goldfish and people don't read it anymore, but that's not true when it's written the right way. When it feels like a letter written to them directly, calling out the exact fears in their head, they're going to read it because you're meeting them where they're at in their mind. You're saying, hey, I know you've been worried about being taken advantage of. I know you might have been burned before. I know you just want someone who will show up, do quality work, charge a fair price, and actually finish the job. When you do that, something shifts. They start to feel like you understand them, and that understanding creates trust before you ever speak to them, which makes them raise their hand and actually want to give you their information. Let me show you what this looks like in the real world. I had a client, Mike Holst, out of Big Lake. He was running those generic, we're the best ads with a big agency. He spent over $27,000 and got nothing but spam calls and a few leads. The lead flow was so bad, he told me he would literally check his phone to make sure the number was still connected. He was losing hope. The ad copy started by addressing the homeowner's biggest fears head on. Stuff like, I know you're worried about being taken advantage of, and you just want a contractor who actually shows up and does the job right. That shift in messaging changed everything. In the first 10 days, he got 52 exclusive qualified booked appointments on his calendar with homeowners in his service area. Not because we screamed louder, but because the homeowners felt understood. He wasn't another contractor saying, trust me. He was the only one who sounded like he got it. And here's the bigger concept behind this. This is message-driven targeting. You're not only targeting homeowners age 40 to 65 and a zip code, you're targeting people with your words. You're speaking directly to the person who values quality over being the cheapest. The person who's been burned, the person who's scared to try again, the person who wants a contractor they can trust. And once you stop the scroll and build the trust, now you have to turn it into action. And that's part 3. All right, part 3, this is where you bridge the gap between interest and action. You got their attention, you've built some trust. Now you need to make it easy for them to take the natural next step while also making sure they're actually qualified. And this is where a lot of contractors stumble. They have a great ad and great copy, and then the call to action is vague. Contact us to learn more. Click here for details. That's weak. You need to sell them on the click. You need to tell them exactly what's going to happen when they click and what they're going to get. So instead of vague call to actions, I use stuff like click get quote to book your free estimate, or click learn more to see if we service your area and schedule your free consultation. Or even better, package what you already do for free into something that sounds valuable. For example, click to book your free custom design meeting. Click to schedule your free 360-degree inspection. Click to claim your free on-site consultation. Specific, direct, valuable, no guesswork. But here's the real mistake most people make, where they send the click. Most contractors use Facebook instant lead forms because they're easy. Someone taps, their info autofills, they hit submit, boom, you got a lead. But that's the problem. When you make it too easy, you get garbage leads, accidental clicks, tired kickers, people with no budget, people who will never answer the phone, people with very, very low intent. So here's what I do differently. I send traffic off platform to a landing page that's intended to squeeze that traffic to get people to opt in, but first sending them through a multi-step qualification survey. They will have to answer questions about project type, scope, timeline, budget, property location before they can ever submit their info. And yes, your lead volume might go down a smidge, but you don't want more leads, you want better leads, because nobody clicks on an ad, leaves Facebook, and completes a multi-step survey by accident. By the time they submit, they've shown real intent, And that's exactly what you want. And here's another layer most people miss. We send the conversion data back to Meta. In plain terms, that means that when someone has actually gone and clicked on your ad, landed on this page, worked through the multi-step qualification survey, at the point that they've shared all of that information, given us their address and their personal contact information, then and only then, we're going to give them the opportunity to actually enter in their information and become a lead. At that point, that conversion data, we send that lead back to the algorithm. That way it learns what a real lead looks like, not an accidental opt-in, so that it gets smarter over time. And then comes the best part. Once they finish the survey, the next step is right there, a booking calendar. They immediately see available times and book themselves right then and there. No waiting for callbacks, no phone tag. They book in the moment when intent is the highest. And that dramatically increases booking rates because they took ownership, because they picked the time, because they committed. Versus you calling 3 hours later and them going, oh yeah, I forgot I even did that. This qualification plus self-booking combo is deadly. It removes friction while filtering for quality. Here's a real example. Jason Flynn, a contractor out of Virginia. For years, he was getting leads from agencies, but the quality was so low, he was on the verge of losing crews because he couldn't keep them busy. Leads were cheap, but they wouldn't answer. And the ones who did weren't serious. We switched him from low friction, low quality leads to a multi-step qualification process and a self-booking calendar. So instead of just name and number leads, homeowners had answered questions and then booked themselves directly. The number of leads went down marginally, but qualified appointments skyrocketed. You went from chasing 3 to 5 dead-end leads a day to having 3 to 5 qualified self-booked appointments show up on his calendar every single day. Close rates jumped because by the time he spoke to them, they were serious, they were qualified, and they had already committed to an appointment time. That is the difference. So that's it. 3 parts. Stop the scroll with the UGC style creative, build trust with the Hope framework messaging, make it easy to act while also layering in the friction so that we qualify the leads that come through and send that conversion data back to Meta so that it gets smarter over time. When you build your Meta ad system like this, you're not competing on who has the prettiest logo or the cheapest price. You're engineering attention, you're engineering trust, and then you're engineering action. And that's how you turn cold strangers into qualified leads that book, show up, and close. Now, if you're sitting here thinking, this makes sense, but I'm already running crews, doing estimates, managing projects, I get it. You don't have the bandwidth to become a marketer on top of everything else. That's why I do this for contractors. I install this entire system, run it full time, and guarantee my work. Link is in the description. We'll figure out if your business is ready for this and what the next steps would look like. And if you found this valuable, subscribe. I release new contractor marketing videos every single week. I appreciate you being here. See you on the next one. Cheers.